I'm so bored. Hey guys, what's up? It's the Culture Detective here, investigating your favorite albums, and today I'm going to do an album review on the latest Run the Jewels album, RTJ4, or it's basically an abbreviation of, Run the Jewels 4. So, Run the Jewels is the one and only, the legendary hardcore hip-hop duo formed between Jamie, or LP, his stage name, as well as Killer Mike. And they have been in the game for quite some time now. Back in the 2010s, they had dropped Run the Jewels 1, 2, and 3. Run the Jewels 1, while it isn't the most groundbreaking, insane hip-hop project ever, it's still very promising. It has a lot of potential, and the production, the performance, everything about it is really solid. It is Run the Jewels 2 that really topped the Run the Jewels franchise, because it has the best singles. The flow is absolutely insane. The beats are ever more aggressive. The track Close Your Eyes and Count to Fuck is a track about police brutality, which is a very relevant topic nowadays, and it is also one of my favorite rap songs in the 2010s. We also have the track Lie, Cheat, Steal, which is absolutely amazing. Run the Jewels 3, released at the end of 2016, but is considered as early 2017 because it was like at the really back end of 16. It's also a really good album. Even though it didn't live up to Run the Jewels 2, it still has a good batch of quality tracks. We have tracks like Talk to Me, Legend Has It, and Call Ticketron. All of these tracks back to back, and they are absolutely fantastic. And now we have Run the Jewels 4. And originally this album is supposed to be released on June 5th, but because of the unrest that the world and especially America is facing right now, Run the Jewels, the duo, decided to release this album 2 days earlier. So it's actually released in June 3rd. And it is a long-awaited album. A couple of great, fantastic singles are released before this album, Yankee and the Brave and Ooh La La, which are also featured in this album for the first and second tracks. And what's going on in America right now after the murder of George Floyd and the whole Black Lives Matter movements, the protests all across the country against police brutality, it's actually extremely relevant, given that a lot of Run the Jewels 4 also deal with similar issues: police brutality, systematic racism, but also things like, damaging the environment and also personal growth. This album feels relevant. It feels now. It feels 2020. And yes, you can say that, Run the Jewels 4 isn't so different from the 3 previous Run the Jewels album. It's more of the same. It's still your really aggressive, hard-hitting, hardcore hip-hop bangers. I still enjoy most of the tracks. I still think it is an incredibly solid project. The tracks here are high quality. What I like about this album more than the previous 3 albums is that the production just hits so hard on this album. It's high fidelity, crispy, clear. That's not a phrase. I just made it up. Crispy clear. And also, the production is more futuristic, more noisy and industrial. In a way, it feels apocalyptic. It feels like a revolution is happening at the moment and really just fires you up. Perfect workout music. Perfect workout music. Yeah, let's go talking about this album track to track. The first track, Yankee and the Brave, is, of course, refers to Yankee is LP because he's from New York, and the Brave refers to Killer Mike because he's from Georgia, Atlanta, so Yankee and the Brave. And yeah, it's a really fiery aggressive opener. We get some loud, crispy drums just booming and banging. Buzzing bass that is really, really heavy and growly, really repetitive, scratchy noises just to wake you up like a very violent and intense alarm clock. Amazing flows. It's like Killer Mike and LP are in a rap battle, even though both of their rap styles are kind of different. LP is very aggressive, while Killer Mike is more relaxing, but the thing he says is so on point, so to the point. He is actually just as aggressive, and we also get references just throwing back to RTJ4's "Oh My Darling Don't Cry," which is really nice. And we have the second track, "Ooh La La," featuring Greg Nice and DJ Premier scratching the beat. It's incredibly well produced. I love the just crumbling, distorted, and grimy pianos. The yelpy beats just hype the track up so well. I love the hook of the thing, "Ooh La La, ah wee wee." And again, the flows, the performance, the delivery, it's all there. And the the hype train goes on with the track "Out of Sight" featuring 2 Chainz, and the beat is insane. It hits extremely hard. It's thunderous. It's booming. And whenever these beats hit, we get this chopped up vocal sort of embedded within the beat, and it's just this bop, 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 bop. It's really crazy. The bass of this thing is so friggin' loud. It's mixed so high, and you'd think 2 Chainz wouldn't really fit into the beat all that well, but actually 2 Chainz is fire on this beat. And 2 Chainz also had really creative and funny wordplay, like "I'll buy a hot dog stand if I'm trying to be frank." Apparently frank is a slang term for hot dogs. I didn't know that before I listened to this track and saw the explanation on it, so there's that. The 4th track, "Holy Calamafuck," is also a really aggressive and fiery track. We get the repetitive mumbles in the beginning, which then leads to these very loud revving bass, and then these marching drums on top, which is also equally loud. And yeah, again, super aggressive, super hype, except at around the second half of the track, the beat sort of transitions to this spacey, sparse trap beat, which is definitely not as fiery as the first half of the track. That being said, I really like the loud, bold, bassy kicks of the track, and LP's performance on this track is totally mind-blowing. And then we have the 5th track, "Goonies vs. E.T., and it is another highlight on the album for me. It's absolutely insane. The energy level is off the roof. We get these really loud, buzzing, just terrorizing, distorted bass, and then we get these futuristic keyboards, bam, 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 sort of flashing by. And again, LP's flow on this thing is so aggressive and so hype. Same goes for Killer Mike's flow, and we have lyrics on this track talking about how we are slowly destroying this earth and how this earth is turning into this post-apocalyptic Mad Maxian nuclear winter-esque world where everything's dying, and it's a real grim image being depicted. And then we have the track "Walking in the Snow," which is actually a track about police brutality, but overall the system of America in general, how the society in America works. And again, while the beat of this thing, the instrumentals of this track as well, isn't as hyped up or as aggressive as other tracks on the album, I still think the flow is okay, and I think the lyrics is actually really good, because again, we talk about police brutality, which is an incredibly overlooked issue worldwide, not only in Hong Kong or in the United States, but also this track talks about, the education system, how kids are sent to school just to receive test scores and do projects, but not really learning much. And I can't really relate to that problem because I'm not from there. But I guess American education system really need some sort of reformation. Anyways, we have the track "Just," with the S being the dollar bill sign, and it features Pharrell Williams and Zach De La Rocha. of Rage Against the Machine fame. Yeah, it's another banger. First of all, similarly, this track is about systematic racism. Killer Mike repeats the hook. Looking all these slave masters posing on your dollar. And we also have Pharrell Williams on the track, and his performance, his hooks are actually pretty good as well, even though he has a very chill and steady and stable delivery. And of course, Zach De La Rocha completely hops off the chart. His performance is just explosive, and he makes references to, you know, the Haitian Revolution, the JFK assassination, and all of this just on top of a very slick, smooth beat, and overall, another really solid track. The track Never Look Back is another more personal track from Run the Jewels, where both LP and Killer Mike sort of talks about their past, how they ended up at this point in their careers, and how they never want to look back again. And all of these is done on top of these very freaky electronic synths, as well as clock-ticking sounds. A very interesting production choice. Even though it's not one of the more explosive tracks in the track list, it's still really solid and well done. But asking for explosiveness, we have the next track, The Ground Below, which actually reminds me a lot of some of the earlier Eminem stuff. The drums are, you know, loud, they are slamming, they hit hard. And on the track, we also get a really creative Gang of Four sample. And we also have a very impressive first verse from Killer Mike, where he sort of talks about how, yes, he has perversiveness, but it is within the moral boundaries. It is moral perversiveness. And I guess if you could take anything away from this track, you can say that Killer Mike is a brutally honest person, but also he says that he supports sex workers, and I feel like Killer Mike and maybe some other people are the only few celebrities who would openly say this thing, which is very bold. Next up, we have the track Pulling the Pin, featuring Josh Homme of Queens of the Stone Age fame, as well as the Mavis Staple. And instrumentally, it's actually not as hype as other tracks on the album. The beats are spacey yet futuristic and concerning. We get the chorus of the track sung by Mavis Staples, and during the chorus, the beat sort of disappears in the back. We only have Mavis Staples sort of singing very skeletally on top of a very thin layer of atmospheric synths. So the chorus and the verses, they feel somewhat disjointed. And then we also have Josh Homme, who doesn't really, you know, appear too much on the track, other than giving some background vocals, some ethereal background vocals. Performance-wise, it's really good as well, lyrically as well. LP talks about how he won a Walkman in the coffin lid, meaning that he still wants to make music after he passes away, because music is his life. Also is not only his life, because it sort of extends beyond life. Yeah, I think overall, instrumentally, the track could need a little more polishing and could need a little more embellishment and decoration. And to end off the album, we have the track A Few Words for the Firing Squad, Radiation, which is a nearly 7-minute long track. And it is an incredibly fiery, aggressive, and bright ending for the album. These ascending synths are so fiery and so passionate sounding. This track is the perfect soundtrack for a really violent revolution. And also the saxophones on this track, especially towards the end of the track where we get a sax solo. It's a really creative incorporation into the track. Killer Mike on this track talks about how he was on a plane when his mother passed away and went to another plane of existence. And how originally he felt down and he wanted to abuse drugs and sort of use drugs or maybe even alcohol to sort of distract himself from, you know, the pain. But then he remembers how he didn't want to become another rap fiend, so he sort of worked hard and tried to move on, and that's really admirable. That's a really admirable attitude. And yeah, overall, at the end, we have ASAP Ferg hopping onto the track, giving a really interesting spoken word, sort of concluding the whole Yankee and the Brave narrative. And it's a really creative way to end off the album. So yeah, while it's not the most versatile album ever, and you know, it's more of the same. It's still a really, really impressive album. The production hits hard. The performances are breathtaking. They are epic. The flows, the delivery by both LP and Killer Mike, they take the spotlight equally. And I really enjoy this album overall. One of my favorite albums of the year so far. So yeah, my favorite track here is probably Goonies versus E.T. Yeah, probably that. Or Ooh La La, if you want me to pick a single. And my least favorite is Walking in the Snow. I am giving Run the Jewels RTJ4 a strong 8. A very, 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 very strong 8 to a very, very, very light 9 out of 10, like a very light 9. I can't really decide if it's a strong 8 or a light 9, but you know what? I'll just put it at a light 9, a 9.0 exactly. Yeah. So, have you listened to the latest Run the Jewels album? From 1 to 10, how much did you rate it? Like it, and subscribe if you want more, and thanks for watching. I will be reviewing Jeff Rosenstock, Backwash, Deerhoof, and more albums in the future, Proto Martyr, as well as a bunch of Pink Floyd albums. So yeah, stay tuned.